One of the things I've constantly talked about is that there has been a rift in the Tory party, and this rift really boils down to a very ideological difference. And this comes down to how much regulation do we want in our market? And you've got the Brexiteers who are complete free market fundamentalists who want absolutely no government intervention, no nothing whatsoever, unless, the government's willing to give them a handout, then they'll, gladly take that money. But that is the situation. And then you've got the others side, who were very much moderate Tories who were ultimately supporting remaining in the European Union because they could understand and see the importance of regulations on our market and how important they really were to us. However, this ideology between these two is a lot more deeper, and this article that we're going to go through here really gets into that. So before we get into that, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon and as well as a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to the people that do support me that way. So, on with the article. So this comes from The Guardian, and the title is Brexit stems from a civil war in capitalism, and we are all just collateral damage. Where there is chaos, the government will multiply it. Where people are pushed to the brink, it will shove them over. Boris Johnson ignored the pleas of businesses and politicians across the UK, especially in Northern Ireland, to extend the Brexit transition process. Never mind the pandemic, never mind unemployment, poverty, and our insecurity. Nothing must prevent our experiment in unassisted flight. We will leap from the White Cliffs on the 1st of January, come what may. Perhaps after so much macho bluster, the government will take the last of its chances and maybe strike a deal. If so, with scarcity any little time for refinement, the agreement is likely to be rushed and bodged, and in any event, the pain will follow. Disruption at the border is likely to be felt across the nation. So, it is worth repeating the big question. Why are we doing this to ourselves? I believe the answer is that Brexit is the outcome of a civil war within capitalism. Broadly speaking, there are two dominant forms of capitalist enterprise. The first could be described as a house-trained capitalism. It seeks an accommodation with the administrative state and benefits from stability, predictability, and the regulations that exclude the dirtier and rougher competitors. It can coexist with a tame and feeble form of democracy. The second could be described as warlord capitalism. It sees all restraints on accumulation, including taxes, regulation, and the public ownership of essential services, as illegitimate. Nothing should be allowed to stand in the way of profit making. It is the justified ideology that was formed by Friedrich Hayek, in the Constitution of Liberty, and by Ayn Rand in Atlas Shrugged. These books sweep away any social complexity and other people's interest. They fetishize something they call liberty, which turns out to mean total freedom for plutocrats at society's expense. In unregarded moments, the warlords and the supporters go all the way. Henk, for example, on a visit to Pinochet's Chile, said that he preferred a liberal dictatorship to a democratic government devoid of liberalism. Peter Thinnell, I think that's how you say it, the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, confessed, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." Last month, Mike Lee, the senior Republican senator for Utah, claimed that democracy isn't the objective of the US political system. liberty, peace, and prosperity are. And Brexit represents an astonishing opportunity for warlord capitalism. It is a chance not just to rip up the specific rules, which overtly it aims to do, but also to tear down the uneasy truce between capitalism and democracy, under which public protections in general are created and enforced. In Steve Bannon's words, it enables the deconstruction of the administrative state. Chaos is not a threat, but an opportunity for money warlords like Peter Hargreaves, the billionaire who donated 3.2 million to Leave.eu campaign and explained that after Brexit, we will get out there and we will become incredibly successful because we will be insecure again. And insecurity is fantastic. The chaos is likely to be likely to cause and will be used for its own justification. Times are tough, so we must slash regulation and liberalise businesses to make us rich again. Johnson's government will seek to use a no deal or a thin deal Brexit to destroy at least some of the constraints on the most brutal forms of capitalism. House-trained capitalists are horrified by Brexit. Not only does it dampen economic activity in general, but it threatens to destroy the market advantage for businesses who play by the rules. Without regulatory constraints, the warlords would wipe them out. Like other august institution of capital, the Confederation of British Industry warned that leaving Europe would cause a major economic shock. In response to these concerns, Johnson, while he was Foreign Secretary, made the remark that might previously have seemed unthinkable, coming from the mouth of a senior Conservative. He told them basically to F businesses. Johnson's government is what warlord money buys. It will be seen as the perfect expression of the pollution of, I say, the Pollutonian paradox, a concept that I think is essential to understanding our politics. What this means is that the dirtier or more damaging an enterprise is, the more money it must spend on politics to ensure that it is not regulated out of existence. As a result, political funding comes to be dominated by the most harmful companies and oligarchs, which then wield the greatest political influence, and they crowd out their more accommodating rivals. This isn't just about pollution. Damaging enterprises with an interest in buying political results, breaks banks and developing exotic financial instruments, property developers who represent planning laws, junk food companies, bosses seeking to destroy employment rights, and plutocrats just hoping to avoid tax in general. That's why we'll never have a healthy democracy without radical reform of campaign finance. On the understanding of this in light of Brexit is scarcely about the UK at all. Oligarchs who have shown the greatest interest in the subject tend to have weak or incompetent ties to this country. According to Andy Wigmore of Leave.eu, the campaign was assisted by US billionaire Robert Mercer. By far the biggest individual donors to Brexit are Christopher Harborne, who is based in Thailand, and Jeremy Hoatsing, who has businesses listed in Dublin and Delaware. The newspaper owners who went to such lengths to make Brexit happen are domiciled offshore. For people like Rupert Murdoch, I believe, the US is a beachhead among the richest and most powerful nations. Turning Chile or Indonesia into a giant free port is one thing, but the UK is a much bigger prize. None of this is what we were told we were voting for. I see Nigel Farage and similar blowhards as little more than smoke bombs, creating the camouflaging smoke of xenophobia and culture wars. The presiding tick of modern politics, that appears to fool us repeatedly, is to disguise economic and political interest as cultural movements. Throughout this saga, the media has reported the smokescreen and not the manoeuvres. This perhaps was the Remain campaign's greatest failure. It largely refrained from calling out the oligarchs whose money helped persuade us to vote to leave the EU, and any such charge would have been rebounded on the campaign funded by the likes of David Sainsbury, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs. When Dominic Cummings and others in the Leave campaign claimed that they were fighting the elites, they were partly right. In terms of funding, there was a battle between competing entities, so the Remainers fatefully compromised by the money that they had taken and instead became locked in a culture war that they were bound to lose. Confronting xenophobia with broomhides about the benefits of immigration, they failed to strike at the heart of the matter. Brexit, treading on the heels of the pandemic, is likely to harm the lives and freedom of millions of people in the UK. But it's not about us. We are just caught in the crossfire of capitalism's civil war. And I think he put it absolutely fantastically there. We are in for a world of hurt come next year. And we need, as was said there, we need to desperately reform our voting system as well as campaign finance law. Because then at least we can stop these oligarchs from essentially flat out buying the parties. Because as it was said there, the more and less they play by the rules, the more and power and influence they have to spend to buy the politicians to stop them being regulated and brought into line. And as I've said to a lot of you before, my morning walks, get used to the word disaster capitalism, because next year we are going to be seeing, as was said there, these warlords engaging in disaster capitalism like we have never seen before. And oh boy, I worry about the future to come. I really, really do. So please do hit that like and share button. Please do support me down in links below, because we could very possibly need it soon in the future. But thank you very much to the people that do support me in this. Your support is very, very much appreciated. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.